we found mother-daughter creators where they would create a story around the power of the mother and daughter love, but also the value, the memories that come from having your hair done by your mom, or like your hair routine, or little moments of mother-daughter love that happen when you're doing something as simple as working on washing your hair or styling your hair. And so we had creators create content around this at scale across social on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. And then the brand, put some paid media behind it to give it additional visibility. And then on the physical product side, we created a super luxe, gorgeous, multi-layered box that went out to the creators I mentioned, but also a larger seating list to create awareness around the partnership. And the box looks gorgeous, but in the box, it obviously had the products that the brand had partnered on, but also had additional little touch points. For example, we partnered with non-competitive skin, makeup, brush brands that were owned by Black entrepreneurs to infuse them into this conversation, knowing what a moment it was for both Carol's daughter and the Little Mermaid. And so that was a really beautiful example of tying the different angles together to create a really nice storytelling.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Features with Hello Advisor. This is a special content series where we invite founders and individuals that work in the startup world to share their stories and for us to hear from their experiences. Now, today we're joined by Bilal Kaiser, founder and principal of Agency Guacamole. And now Agency Guacamole is an award-winning influencer marketing, events, social media, and PR agency for innovative beauty and lifestyle brands. So hi, Bilal.
Hi, Alexis. Thank you for having me.
Of course. We're super excited to have you join us for this conversation. And I think a good place to start is sort of the origin story of Agency Guacamole, sort of when you decided to start your own company. And most importantly, we have to know what's behind the name.
Sure. I'll start with that one first because that's a fun one. When I was starting Agency Guacamole, and I'll tell you the story that led to that moment in time, I wanted to make sure that the name reflected something fun, a bit whimsical. There are a lot of agencies in the marketplace, and I felt it was important to stand out. So we're throwing out a few different ideas, and guacamole and avocados kept coming up. And so we said, all right, well, how would we PR and how do you spin it? So the story became in a guacamole recipe, you have different ingredients combining together to create a delicious product. And that essentially became our ethos at the agency. Different ideas, different points of view, all collaborating together to create great results for our clients. On top of that, it's a fun word. It's very California. It's very brandable, and in a space that has a lot of different competing vendors vying for clients' business, our name often stands out just for the name that it is. So that's been a fun. Now 9 years into the business, it's been a fun part of who we are. In terms of the origin story, my villain origin story, just kidding. I used to be on the corporate side. So my entire career has been in marketing and PR. I used to work at some really large corporations, always in marketing, communications, social media, even as it was starting roles. And in 2015, I was having like a bit of just like a personal introspection mini crisis, if you will, where I was like, what do I want to do next in my career? How do I want to build on the skills that I built and do less of the work that I don't enjoy doing in marketing? And so at the end of 2015, I said, you know what? One way to do it might be to do it on my own. And so I left my corporation on good terms and started Agency Guacamole in January of 2016. At first, it was just me. And then I used to do some teaching on the side. A former student came to help. And then 2 people became 4 people, 4 people became 8 people. And now 9 years later, we're about 20 people. We work mostly in LA with some employees in New York. We work with clients across the country, mostly in beauty and lifestyle, like you said, and really focus on influencer marketing, public relations, and experiential.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that whole story. I love the name, by the way. It's so delicious for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
But I really love like the intentionality behind, the whole design of the company. And of course, very impressed with how far you guys have come since your founding. But yeah, so since founding Agency Guacamole then, in what ways have you seen the company evolve, or maybe even remain consistent to match or respond to a highly competitive dynamic market that is beauty, lifestyle, and now the emerging creator economy?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Hmm.
So one of the things that's a blessing or a curse about working in this space, and just marketing in general, PR in general, is that no 2 days are alike. The space, everything you believe to be true can change very quickly. Whether that's recent examples like, TikTok potentially going away and where we spend, lots and lots of money on behalf of our clients on TikTok going overnight as a threat. That's a major potential
Yeah.
shift. down
Mm-hmm.
to whether it's an algorithm-based conversation, like what works today may not work tomorrow, whether it's like the editorial and media landscape. People don't read magazines and newspapers as much as they used to, but they still want content. How do we reframe how we talk about our clients' products, but using different mediums? So I mentioned those examples to say the space in and of itself is constantly evolving and changing, and to work in it, you have to be adaptable and be ready to meet the demands of whatever crazy challenge comes up tomorrow. How we've done internally is by the following. And actually, Hello Advisor was a part of defining some of these things as the company was building, which was what are our core pillars that we feel like if I was to stand up in court and defend the company, what would be some pillars that I would stand behind? One of those
Mm-hmm.
is creativity, and that's how we approach our clients' projects, how we approach ways of doing business, how we approach working with our creators, right? You mentioned the creator economy. So we've been working with influencers and creators, and I use that term interchangeably here because some people create content that gets used by brands. Some people are influencers that create content that they post their own channels, and multiple variations or iterations of that concept. But we've been working with that since the beginning, and I used to work on it in my past lives, both in the entertainment industry as well as consumer packaged goods. And
Mm-hmm.
creativity, bringing it back to that, is how we work with anyone we work with in new, innovative ways that gives us space to be flexible when things change, that gives us new ways of approaching a project when challenges outside of our control arise. Another pillar might be this concept of nimbleness. So as a smaller agency, we can do things fairly quickly that some of the larger agencies may not be able to. So there have been countless examples where a client will be like, hey, we have X amount of money, we want to activate at US Open, or we want to do something at Coachella or Essence Fest in New Orleans. Can we get 10 creators there? Can we get a major content production moment happening, get an editor or two out there, fly everyone, and also throw a party at the last minute with 1 month's notice? Now, that's not an ideal situation. I'm not asking for clients to do that all the time, obviously. But because we're able to turn things around quickly and we have the relationships with the creators, with editors, with vendors and venues, and internally, we agree and align that sometimes you have to respond very quickly in a nimble way. We're
Mm-hmm.
able to respond to the client and say, we got you, let's do this. And the third one would be the client service aspect, which any agency in the world should have a point of view on service. But the way we look at it for us is how can we be an extension of the client's team? So when they talk to us, they feel like we're already on the team. And that offers smoother ways of working, smoother ways of ensuring that when things are volatile or change, or when new innovations coming up, it's not we know it, but the client doesn't. The client knows that we don't do it. We're all discovering it together and frankly
Mm-hmm.
finding solutions together for the common end goal.
Gotcha. That's really awesome. I love how the core values never change, but sort of the approach to accomplishing them are always adapting and changing and getting better. So that's really awesome.
So thank you.
Um, we'll come back to the marketing aspects in just a bit, but I did want to pause and sort of talk about, the mission that Agency Guacamole is on to evoke inclusivity and diversity in the industries that you guys work in. So just really quickly, I wanted to get your take on what the words inclusivity and diversity mean within the context of the beauty industry, and then how does your agency sort of engage in that discussion?
Oh my gosh, Alexis asked me all the tough questions today.
I know, I got to keep you
Um,
on your toes, Bilal.
I'm on my toes. I would say what uh, inclusivity and diversity mean to me vis-a-vis the beauty and lifestyle spaces. We want to create a world. Our vision is to create a world where everyone feels like they belong. So whether
Mhm.
you're a creator who's, let's say, it's a woman of color or LGBT or disabled or an older woman, any demographic that may not have as much representation in the mainstream beauty lifestyle conversation, we want to create a space where you feel comfortable doing that. How we do that is by the following. Number one, if we're creating a campaign roster for a client for a new moisturizer or device or shampoo, whatever might be launching, do we ensure that the people we're proposing as potential talent match the way America looks? Or is it going to be an only cookie cutter expertise that they can get anywhere else? We don't do that latter. We go for the former. Um,
Mhm.
We've also found that when we create a space and give our clients the permission to play with diversity, not in a sort of disparaging way, but to lean into it, to create conversation that shows that they care, they care about consumers that look and live in a different world than maybe they do, and their products can work on the same consumer base. It can be really magical and beautiful, actually, from a communications like campaign headline talking point, to the content that gets delivered and posted on TikTok or Instagram, to even the conversations that these creators have in the comment section, knowing, oh, I didn't know this product for curly hair would work on my type of curly hair, but I see
Mhm.
someone who used it and I feel confident in purchasing it. It really has a very net positive effect that I try to show our clients whenever we can. And we as an agency feel very strongly about it, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point about our blend initiative.
Yes. That's actually the next question that I have. Uh, BLND, which stands for Beauty, Lifestyle, and Nurturing Diversity. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about that initiative, how you guys started, and so if you have any notable moments to share, sort of what that sort of journey has looked like.
Yeah, you have done your research. So
Oh
this is actually one of
yes.
my favorite topics to talk about. So Blend started in 2018 as sort of a mini passion project for me. I started the
Mhm.
company in 2016, as I may have mentioned. So a couple years in, I was reminded that oftentimes there isn't enough representation of people that look different than the mainstream. And I was like, I have the voice of these, I have the ear of these clients that are leaders in their space. I am in communication with creators, editors, all the people that work in our space. Could I use, my force for good? So that's being dramatic, but my visibility and the limited, very small amount of power that I have here, influence I have, to create a space for conversation around diversity. And so
Mhm.
that's how Blend sort of came to be. We did our first event in New York City in September of 2018. We did like very like minimal grassroots marketing, but we had a phenomenal panel of the head of social media at Kiehl's, who was an Asian American woman. We had the head of
Mm.
marketing and innovation at a skincare brand, who was an African American woman. We had the lead beauty editor at Essence, also a Black woman, and then we had an Indian American influencer who's really making big strides in her space. We moderated a conversation just to do sort of like a pulse, like what is the space like? How are things feeling? And I think like 50 people attended that first one. It was very intimate. And the response was phenomenal, Alexis. Like people came to me afterwards, like in tears, everyone from like students who wanted to work in the space to people who already work as a brand marketer and were like, oh my God, I never thought about this. I'm going to take this to the conference room tomorrow. And that to me showed that there was a lot of potential and momentum in doing
Mhm.
something like this. Since then,
Mhm.
we've had Blend every year, sometimes twice a year, in New York, LA, Atlanta, virtually. We've explored different themes of diversity and inclusivity. So obviously, race and ethnicity. We explored age. We did a panel on the age-old question about aging in this category. We did it around entrepreneurship as an entrepreneur of color. We did gender, or rather genderless beauty. And this year in 2025, with how the larger conversation around D&I is changing, we're actually leaning in even further and responding to the conversation in a much broader way, which we'll be hearing about soon.
Awesome. Well, we'll be looking forward to that. And that's really cool that you were able to bring on so many involved people in the space. But I know these directors are rarely ever like the face of their brands or the people that you get to see. So that's really awesome that you were able to provide that platform. And yeah, looking forward to what comes next. So stepping back, kind of bringing it back to Agency Guacamole as a whole, I'm just curious if you could share a couple of your favorite campaigns that you've done with Agency Guacamole, um, and sort of what made each campaign special or memorable for you.
Oh, good one. Um, as part of our offering, when we do creator programs or influencer marketing programs, right, we try to find a way to tell a story that brings the content together, brings any consumer or creator touch points together. So one example that comes to mind that I think we did a good job on was when do you remember when Disney was re-releasing their Little Mermaid a couple of years ago?
Yes, I
Live
do.
action Little Mermaid, I believe. And so our client Carol's Daughter, which is a pioneer in hair products for hair of color, multicultural hair, Black women's hair,
Hmm.
they had a partnership with the brand and they asked us to create a campaign around it, both on social but also tangible in person. And I wish I thought I had a box next to me, but there were two key parts to it. The first was a storytelling piece using major TikTok and Instagram creators, but not just like creators on their own. We found mother-daughter creators where they would create a story around the power of the mother and daughter love, but also the value, the memories that come from having your hair done by your mom, or like your hair routine, or little moments of mother-daughter love that happen when you're doing something as simple as working on washing your hair or styling your hair. And so we
Hmm.
had creators create content around this at scale across social and across social on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. And then the brand, put some paid media behind it to give it additional visibility. And then on the physical product side, we created a super luxe, gorgeous, multi-layered box that went out to the creators I mentioned, but also a larger seating list to create awareness around the partnership. And
Mm-hmm.
the box looks gorgeous, but in the box, it obviously had the products that the brand had partnered on, but also had additional little touch points. For example, we partnered with non-competitive skin, makeup, brush brands that were owned by Black entrepreneurs to infuse them into this conversation, knowing what a moment it was for both Carol's daughter and the Little Mermaid. And so that was a
Mm-hmm.
really beautiful example of tying the different angles together to create a really nice storytelling.
Pun intended?
There you go. Good one.
Oh, I love that. And yes, as a daughter myself, I can definitely relate to those stories and those traditions that are sort of passed down. But yeah, that's really, really beautiful. Um, and so kind of touching on what we've been talking about, the influencer market and the creator economy. Um, you mentioned that Agency Guacamole has been working with this space for a while, and so you guys are very familiar with sort of the dynamics and sort of what happens in this space. Um, how have you seen it evolve? Maybe since like its conception, before maybe it even became popular, and where do you believe that this industry is now headed, especially after like COVID? I know it boomed, and post-pandemic, that's something that we're all navigating right now. So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh my gosh. I've been working with influencers and creators back then they were called bloggers.
Oh
My
my
entire
gosh.
career essentially. When I was at an entertainment studio, we would literally work with like people who had blogs about entertainment series and franchises, and we would send them
Wow.
like either swag from the set, like a t-shirt with the franchise name on it,
Mhm.
or like a visual from the set behind the
Mhm.
scenes. They would go gangbusters for free. They would
Yeah.
take that, write about it, tweet about it, whatever was happening. So I put a Facebook or MySpace post up about it.
Oh.
Now, obviously, the landscape has changed significantly. So what I'll say in summation is that it's become a lot more sophisticated. And how it's become more sophisticated is the following. I think number one, there are many different types of creator and influencer relationships that can exist. So that could be pay to play. I give Alexis $1 million. You create a video on TikTok, done. It could be an ambassador program. It could be a seeding program. It could be a gifted program. It could be a UGC program. So many different ways of doing it. And the
Mhm.
other part where it's become sophisticated is the evaluation of it. So there's a lot more tools. There are a lot more tools that can more accurately measure the impact of the content, the engagement, find people that are talking about you that you're not yet working with, and also step away from people who are talking about you who maybe you don't want to work with. And so we're
Mhm.
able to provide that insight to our clients and say, we did this campaign on XYZ moisturizer. It went out to 1,000 people. 50% of them posted about it. Let's do a round two, the people who did post about it, to give them more love and support that relationship as an example. Whereas before, it wasn't just clear cut to be able to do that. And I think the
Gotcha.
word, yeah,
Oh, go go
I
ahead.
was just saying where it's going, I think it'll be continue to become more finesse. And I think what's going to happen is, marketers and advertisers understand that using influencers is essentially like an advertising channel, the way a TV ad or an out of home, banner might be. And
Mhm.
so I think not only are creators already part of marketing plans and advertising spend, but I think they'll become more nuanced and specific, and that might be regional based. So if we're doing XYZ product, that might be more popular in like a major metro area, LA, New York as an example. Let's find creators that specifically speak to our target audience in that way in those markets. Conversely, I think creators that maybe don't perform or don't have the engagement or don't have the relationship with their communities. Whereas before, I think it would have been easier for them to just get that check and quickly move on. I think now, especially in challenging economic times, brands need a bit more oomph. And whether that's better engagement metrics, but whether that's better reach,
Mhm.
confirmed and validated reach, whether certain platforms being more relevant, or whether that's value-added content that the creator provides the way media outlets used to provide, I think
Mhm.
that's what marketers are going to look for in the future.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
So kind of going off of that, then from your experience, what do you say are a couple things that my original question was for leaders and brands, but we can open it up to like the influencers as well. What are some things that they often overlook then or undervalue in their content marketing that should warrant a higher priority for them?
For influencers?
Uh, for influencers or brands as well. Yeah, just any observations that you've made.
Sure. I think for brands and marketers, what something they haven't been prioritized is being more aware of the communities they want to talk to. So it's
Mhm.
very easy to say, "Oh my God, I heard I can just mention names, I guess it's not in a derogatory way, but like let's say I've heard of Alex Earl, let's use her for a video. Or I've
Hmm.
heard of Mikhail, let's make sure we send her product. Great, amazing, let's absolutely do that. But are you aware of what this person's posting about? Do you know what their comment section is like? Do you know what their, point of view is on a retinol product versus, a minoxidil product? Like, have we explored those things? Because
Hmm.
as social media just continues to evolve and as communities on these networks are so engaged and invested in the creators they actually choose to follow, it's
Hmm.
important for brands who want to play in that space to have that same level of understanding. And
Hmm.
sometimes I think it's not prioritized enough. On the creator side, this is disappoint. It's sad, but I think a lot of creators don't prioritize professionalism enough. And that means if you are going to be a creator and you do it professionally, you have to be operate like a business. And that means from everything how you communicate to how you meet deadlines, relationship building, etc. I think some people find big followings and big reach very quickly. And I think they think that's all they need to sustain a business by making money through the creators. And unfortunately, what happens is after the first couple brand deals, when the brand feels it wasn't professional or they weren't treated fairly or whatever, eventually they stop working with them. And this
Oh
industry is
man.
very small. And
Hmm.
certain creators' names come up all the time. We're like, I don't want to work with this person, or let's skip them, let's delete them because of their past, how they've been burned in the past.
Oh wow. That's yeah, I guess with the emergence of the creator economy, like influencers when they maybe have not previously seen themselves as small businesses, like really do need to start considering themselves as one, especially on the operation side.
Totally.
Yeah. Uh hmm. Do you find that like the creator economy then is in need of more like services like that Agency Guacamole provides, like PR training? Like how important do you think that is and will be in this industry?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think like if you look at small businesses in general, like smart, savvy entrepreneurs and leaders can find what they don't know and what they need help on and find a resource for it. I think the majority,
Mhm.
unfortunately, just don't see it. So I would say
Mm,
even if you don't feel like you need to invest in a PR media training firm or an agent or whatever service you might need, I think looking into the bare minimum of what it takes to be a professional in this space is going to be very important, especially if you want to eventually get to a place where you can find these external partners.
mhm. Gotcha, gotcha. Well, so we're approaching sort of the end of our time together, which is so sad because I've really enjoyed this conversation. But I do want to end this this interview with a couple of broader questions and takeaways from our conversation as a whole. So I'm sure you've received this question before, Bilal, and it's been kind of the buzzword of the past couple years. But the advent of new technology has always been a disrupting factor for businesses. So we've been talking about the internet and social media evolving all this time, and more recently, AI has been that huge disrupting factor. I see that smile. I think you know what's coming. Um, so I just wanted to get your thoughts on what you believe the role that AI will play in marketing and maybe some considerations that you would want businesses to think about when adopting AI as a part of their product or service or the content that they create or as a part of their workflow.
Yeah. AI, yes, continues to be a very hot, two-letter buzzword, etc.
Hmm.
I think AI will help people in the marketing PR space with um, some of the beginning stages of projects and work. So, for example, with influencer marketing, maybe AI is used to help create an initial list of people we could use in our casting or vetting, right? So, find me people who are within this age range, talk about this topic, have this kind of following, and also wear red in their content a lot. And then maybe that can be an initial list for now me as a human to step in and vet before I propose to my clients. On the PR side, maybe it's a first pass at a press release or sourcing a media list, right? I
Hmm.
think if I circle back, do a full circle to my opening line, which was this space, literally the foundation of it is uncertainty, volatility, constant innovation, constant change. I think AI
Hmm.
is just one more thing we have to like think about and respond to. I think most marketers and people I know are not only aware of it, but using AI in their workflow in some way. And I think that's smart to do because if anything, it allows us to respond to our clients in a faster way, allows us to work with creators in ways that maybe we hadn't thought of before because we have that edge around finding them, whereas before through manual stuff, we may not have been able to find them at all.
Hmm. Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, and I think having an open mind, like you mentioned, it's just seeing AI as like another sort of factor that will change a game, but it's not entirely something unfamiliar, like over the course of like, the creator economy and the industry, will be really good to helping keep businesses flexible, for sure. And so, my last question, we kind of touched on this already, but if you have any final thoughts, on this, the beauty and the lifestyle industry, at least from what I've observed, has expanded to become like a globally involved market. We've seen things like K-Wave come in, and I feel like African American brands are starting to really, gain traction, gain some uh, attention as well. So what are some trends to look out for this industry as it continues to grow and maybe even become more personal for everyone on Earth? And how can businesses stay flexible in order to anticipate some of these market changes?
It's a very heavy question.
Take your time.
uh, I would say in this case, look inward. Know what you're about, know what your strengths are, know what your values are, business values, obviously, but maybe even, contextual or cultural values that so that when these changes come up or when new opportunities come up, we're able to respond in a way that's, I'm going to use that word authentic, but authentic to you at the same time gives whatever the challenge is what it needs from you. Does that make
Awesome.
sense?
Very, yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Very concise, which I appreciate. But yes, it does make sense. So authenticity, staying true to yourself. Amazing. Well, and I think that leaves us at a good place to wrap up. Thank you so much, Bilal, for joining us today, for
Thank you
speaking
so
with
much.
me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. We love Hello Advisor.
And we love you too. All right. And for our listeners, I hope you'll join us for our next feature interview. Thank you.